Hello and welcome to Gas It Out, our very first remote recording since our first recordings at Chateau Ginterly. We have got an international feel to our show today. It promised to be chaotic if setting this call up was anything to go by. It hasn't been easy, let's just say. My name's Gavin Emmett. I'm already in Thailand ahead of the opening round of the championship. I didn't quite make it to testing. I was on holiday here with my family. They flew home. Testing hadn't finished, just finished, sorry. So unfortunately, lads, I'm on the same time zone, but haven't made testing to get an eye on proceedings. Joining me from the UK, first of all, is Neil Hodgson. Is your bag packed? You got your passport ready?
A passport. I knew there was something. My bag literally is right behind me, and I'm 90% packed, 80%. Okay, I haven't started, but it doesn't take me long. You know what it's like. What's good for us is we just put the team uniform in and some shorts, don't we, really? So it's not a big issue. We're quite experienced at packing now.
Yeah, absolutely. And somewhere else on planet Earth, I believe, is Sylvain Ginterly. We've had a bit of a struggle trying to get you, Sylvain. Can you hear us all right? And where are you currently?
Yeah, at the moment it is working, and I've actually, I've done like you, Gav. I've gone for a bit of sun. I mean, I couldn't cope anymore with those temperatures and that rain and the flooding and everything in UK. So yeah, gone for a little bit of sun as well. It's all good prep intake because it's going to be hot this weekend in Thailand. So it's like heat acclimatization. That's what we used to call it when I used to race. That's what we do for Suzuki 8 Hours. You know, you got to go a little bit early, get used to that heat. So I think me and you are going to be ready, and Neil is going to be sweating this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to be bright red and sweating. Usual, you know what I'm like.
I will be, without fail anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting you mentioned there, Sylvain, jet lag and travel fatigue. It's something we might get into when we talk about illnesses and that kind of thing. That's obviously been a talking point. We've got loads to get through because obviously testing has finished for MotoGP in Buriram. We've had our first taste of World Superbike action as well with the opening round in Australia. Few weather issues down there, not like Phillip Island at all. And lots of other chat about Phillip Island and Australia for other reasons that we want to get our teeth into. That has set the internet alight, as I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you'll be only too aware. Loads of other gossip to get our teeth into as well. And of course, we've got your questions as well. A few people have got in touch at Gas It Out Pod on Instagram. You can send us comments there. Even on our YouTube feed, send us a few comments and we'll try and get to them. But I suppose let's start where the stopwatch doesn't lie, or does it? Because we had our final MotoGP test there at Buriram, 2 days, a last chance to try things, a last chance to break things, last chance to maybe bluff your rival, sandbag a bit before the start of the season. But when the flag finally drops this coming weekend in Thailand, of course, the opening Grand Prix is this weekend. No room for hiding anymore. Neil, what stood out to you, though, most of all from those 2 days testing in Buriram? And perhaps I should, for those in the video version, just put up the timesheets from the end of combined times from testing.
Yeah, it's always tricky when you look at the final lap times, because as we know, that's full time attacker mode. Some people risk a little bit more in a test, some people don't. But I mean, you've got to say, it's quite exciting to see the Aprilias up there straight away. We knew the way Aprilia and Marc Marquez finished last year that the Aprilia was obviously a really good package, but it definitely looks like they have refined it. And not only on the one lap pace, also when they did the race simulation, Aero unbelievably fast, believe it or not, in the race simulation. If you remember last year as a rookie there in his first race, he was really competitive, battling with Pecco Bagnaia. I think he finished around about 5th. So obviously it's a track that... Yeah, so it's obviously a track Aero likes. But yeah, I think what we've learned is we knew Ducati had made a slight step after Sepang. That's stayed the same. But maybe, and I'm saying this with both my fingers crossed, they don't quite have the advantage it looked like they had after Sepang. So it looks like the other manufacturer, certainly Aprilia, are a little bit closer.
That's what we hope, isn't it, Sylvain? Yeah. That's, what we're aiming for. Just to go through those testing times in case, obviously, you're not watching the video version. It's on YouTube. You can go and find it whenever you want. Marco Bezzecchi was fastest on the combined times from 4 sessions really, morning and afternoon on those days, with practice starts in between. A 1:28.668, which actually is beating the existing all-time lap record set by Pecco Bagnaia a couple of years ago. Ayagura was second, as Neil mentioned there. Marc Marquez was the fastest of the Ducatis with a 1:28.8, so just under a couple of tenths behind Bezzecchi, but a couple of crashes for him, bit of illness. Pecco Bagnaia was 4th, Alex Marquez 5th, Pedro Acosta, the top KTM, in 6th, and then Morbidelli ahead of Jorge Martin, a welcome return. We'll talk about that in a second when we go on to Aprilia. And just rounding out the top 10, Dijan Antonio and Joan Mir. And Joan Mir only 6/10 off. But Sylvain, I'll come to you. Let's just talk about Aprilia then. Is the pace for real? Is it, we have to say it's significantly better than how we went into the season for them last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, they improved a lot during the season last year. So, they've all that performance that they gained during last year and toward the end of the year, it looks like they've built on that, and they came in Sepang and here in Buriram with another small step. So they look really good. I mean, Bezzecchi did a really long simulation, and it looked really, really good on pace. And we know in Buriram there's a big drop. We know the rear tire, it's that special construction for the heat that they use also in Austria and Indonesia. So this tire looks like it's working really well for the Aprilia. Bezzecchi was on form. Augura was really fast. Like Neil said, it's a really good track for Augura last year. I mean, he was super impressive at the from his first race as a rookie. So we know he's going to be strong. Is it going to be enough to beat the Ducatis? I don't know, but it's certainly going to be close.
Yeah, well, that's great. This is what Marco Bezzecchi had to say after the test. We worked well. We saw improvements. Happy about that. During testing, there's always a lot of grip on the track, so you need to stay focused, analyze all the data. The bike has improved, crucially. In Nuali, they worked very hard over the winter, and everything we tested worked well. So, gap bridge, Neil, what do you reckon?
It's definitely a step in the right direction. The problem is the Ducati has made a slight step. Starting round 1, obviously this coming weekend, Ducati still start, and I'm going to say it as clear favourites, even though we know clear favourite, absolutely. And that said, Marc didn't have a smooth test. Like you said, quite a few crashes over the weekend. He had a crash straight away on day 1 when he sort of was braking into the last corner, and he touched the white line in the braking zone and had a proper face plant. So, but what we've learned from Marc over the years is it doesn't really bother him, does it? Marc can throw it down the road. As long as he doesn't get injured, he will bounce back. So I feel like it's the Ducatis to lose before we go into the weekend.
Yeah, and I suppose, Sylvain, then if we talk about Ducati, moving on a little bit from Aprilia. No, actually, before we do that, let's just mention Jorge Martin back in, building up fitness ahead of the season. I was really encouraged by what I saw from Martin. How about you, Sil?
Oh, yeah. I was worried as well, because obviously he didn't do Sepang, had another surgery, to fix all his massive injuries from last year, and we've not seen Jorge Martin on form, and it's been over a year. I mean, what a nightmare for him. Came back in Buriram straight away on the pace. As soon as he was on the bike, as soon as he'd done a few laps, straight away found a good feeling. So he says he still has to build on, he hasn't got quite yet this, this feeling you need, with your bike. Like when you feel at one, he needs more laps. I can't believe I'm even saying that. After a full season, he still needs time to adapt to the bike. But I would say I was positively surprised with the way he adapted and the way it obviously felt comfortable straight away. That's another sign that the Aprilia package is super strong.
Yeah, which is so good that we can head into a season. We'll have a comparison in a second of how the different factories are fared. But perhaps we should get onto Ducati as a separate topic in itself, because they are the benchmark, as you said. And it feels like, Neil, they've got depth across the grid. This test really was about Aero, wasn't it? As far as they're concerned. Okay, not everything about Aero. Obviously getting the bike set up for the start of the year. There's a lot more goes into it. But that was the unknown, wasn't it? Heading into the season for them. We saw basically Alex Marquez, Pecco Bagnaia, Marc Marquez, everyone running with this kind of the 24 Aero, which I found interesting. You can see it there on the video version. That's the one with the sort of smaller downwash ducts down the bottom of the fairing. Michele Pirro was running what would have been the 25 Aero. He was at the back of the field on that. You can see it on the video version again, just slightly different setup on that. It looks like they've gone with those. You can see the wings on the back again, and it looks like they're going with the rear unit from the 25, the front of the 24. Different feeling for all of them. It's a bit of a mishmash. Is it a concern?
I don't think so. I think it really just shows that Ducati are in a strong position, and basically what they're doing is they are just merging all the best bits of the bikes. I think the real standout is the fact that the 24 Ducati, aero-wise, was so good, and we saw that obviously in that season. I mean, no one could get close to Martino or Pecco. And what was interesting was that's what obviously Marc in his first year trying to race against them on a Ducati, and he found it hard, the gap between the 23 and the 24. So basically we've gone full circle. It's now 2026 and it looks like 80% of the Aero is the 2024 version, but which is sometimes you just get it right and you try and tweak it and it makes no difference. So yeah, it's interesting, but that's roughly where I'd say they're all at.
Sylvain, what about Marc Marquez with those crashes we mentioned? You mentioned about getting out jet lag, getting yourself prepared. It feels like he said it's been a really hard winter getting up to speed and all that, but it almost feels like he's got that classic illness that you get if you're traveling about, working hard. They'd be doing lots of testing. He's getting up to fitness, and then he's obviously been under the weather. And then he said he actually had a couple of crashes because of fatigue.
Yeah, he said because he was not concentrating enough. I mean,
not concentrating.
Yeah, I mean, for Marc, obviously, he said he was feeling a bit under the weather. There's two separate things. I mean, the injury and the surgery that he had, and the long recovery over obviously missing out the end of season last year, all the winter recovering. This injury that we talked about, this acromioclavicular injury, is a really bad one. And he does take a long time. I know it's Neil's favorite one now.
Yeah, here he goes.
It takes
again.
a long time to come back from that. And it does hurt for a long time. And you can tell Marc is worried. He said it in Sepang. He said, I'm doing short runs and I'm checking my shoulder. And this is months after the surgery. He's had a long time to recover. So this is going to maybe, arm him a little bit at the start, especially the start of the season. The fact that he crashed like that 3 times, he crashed as well in Sepang. I mean, that's not great. To me, I think this is potentially what could hurt his championship this year. And last year obviously he got that injury and he couldn't finish all the season. And this is really Marc's only Achilles. What do you call it?
Heel.
Yeah, Achilles heel. That's it. Where he can hurt himself and he can sort of trip himself because of an injury. He looks the strongest to me in his race pace, and we know he's got that edge as well at managing the tires, managing the race. He showed that last year, but he could get hurt, and he's had some big crashes again there. Those 3 crashes were big, especially the first one was massive.
Yeah, hey, it's hard to believe.
Could I be a devil's advocate just on Neil, just to jump in there to say I echo Sylvain's sentiments. In fact, we were exchanging messages about this beforehand, and Sylvain was a bit like, I worry. Is it not just what we've seen from Marc before, though? Crashing, testing and practice. But when it comes to the day, when it comes to the racing, I know he's had them over the last couple of years, but he showed last year the wherewithal to know what he needs to get the championship done.
Yeah, I mean, he's the king of that, isn't he? He's the king of pushing it to the limit, going to himself, I think, I'm not 100% sure, is this the limit? And he just pushes through it and then realizes, yes, that's the limit. It's another crash. Think how many times he's crashed in his career, in his MotoGP career. I mean, he's averaged, 20 crashes per season. So he's not shy at pushing past the limit. And you're so right, Gav. He then confirms the sensation, the feeling, and then just pulls it back that 0.1% in the races and controls it. So my only surprise is I genuinely thought after the injury and all the time, and that he clearly wasn't going to rush back, I thought by now he'd be 100% fit. And not that the injury had worked well for him, but it had given him an opportunity to have a real good rest and be ready to attack the next couple of seasons. But it doesn't look like that. It looks like the injury is still lingering on. And this is an opportunity for his opponents to try and get like put a glove on him, have a go, because he's not going to be 100% fit next weekend.
But his quote was, yeah, but testing takes more out of you than actual race weekend does. Would you agree with that, Sylvain, that actually he might be able to manage it more over what he's sort of almost describing as a less impactful race weekend?
Yeah, for sure. At full testing day is very, very tiring. In that heat, you're going to do between 60 and sort of 90 laps, and you are going to get very tired. You're going to be trying lots of different configurations, so you have to push every time. It's not like those laps. There's no laps there where you're relaxing during the winter testing. You've got to make the most out of it. There's not much track time that is allowed, especially for Ducati riders. They can't test that much at all, so they have to make the most of every single lap. So you're going to get very tired with an injury like that as well. It's like an injury that gets inflamed after a bit. So yes, in that respect, I think probably the race weekend is not going to be as hard on his shoulder. But then in the race weekend, there is a lot of intensity. You got to be physical with the bike. You got to go and obviously muscle the bike around a lot as well. So we'll see how it goes. I agree with Neil though. I think it is a bit of a worry to see him, taking so much time to recover to 100% fitness, but I fully understand it, because like I said, this is an injury that I had, a very, very similar one, and I can still feel it now, and it was 10 years ago.
I want to just put this up of Iagura. There was a nice little quote from Trackhouse of him. He did so well in the testing, but just look at that, 400 miles that he's completed over the test, riding in temperatures that are north of 35 degrees. It will feel that much hotter on a motorcycle. So that's 650 kilometers you're riding over a couple of days with very little resting time on a MotoGP machine. So you just, you can see how testing takes it out. We'll see. We will see, won't we, when we get to the opening round
he's
of
lucky
the championship.
with those crashes, Mark, that he's not tweaked it. He's been lucky there, because he's hit the deck how many times now in pre-season? Is it 5 times?
4 times.
4, yeah. It's enough, isn't it? It's obviously there's always a risk when you get on a bike, but I'm glad he's not tweaked it, because he isn't right.
Did you see the video that I think it was MotoGP or Ducati put up of him talking to his crew after he had the crash, and he was talking. He was talking. He said, I don't know whether I touched the white line, and then you actually saw the footage from the track camera. You definitely touched the white line. In fact, weren't you on the curb? Something like that. It was like, I don't know whether he was following someone at the time. Said it was a bit of a lapse of concentration, but I did like, the sort of, because it was testing, there's not like it's been going out on the big screens and the team have seen it. It was trying to get away with one. What do you reckon on that? One.
It was clear rider error, but because it was so early on in tests, when there's no rubber on the track, actually the curbs can be a little bit slippy as well. And obviously, normally when they go out on track, a MotoGP bike, Moto 3 and 2 have already been out. They've been cleaning the curbs, so it was a bit of a rookie mistake. But hey, it's Marc Marquez. He can do what he wants, can't he? I can't sit here and criticise him.
Let's talk about some of the other factories. Well, no, actually, let's just stick with Ducati for 1 second, because there is another man that I want to talk about, and that is Pecco Bagnaia. We'll talk about his future career, talk about it at the end of the podcast when we get into a little bit of the gossip. It feels like, and I know he was in the battle, he was on the podium in Thailand last year. He does okay around the circuit as well. But the noises that he actually says, look, I'm not where I was last year. I've got a bike underneath me that feels better. So does that give you encouragement for the start of the season? I'll throw that to Sylvain. Do you reckon that, Pecco's going to be in the mix?
Yeah, I think there's much better signs than last year. Last year the doubts were everywhere. And Actually, he didn't start that bad last year. You know, he got beaten by Marc and Alex, but he was very, very close to them. It's later on in the season that things went really wrong. You know, that he was completely miles off the pace at some of the races, and very much up and down. Sorry. So he and upside down as well at times. So he looks in a much better shape. He looks more confident on his Ducati, and actually all the Ducati riders look better. Di Giorgio looks better as well. So Ducati are going to have, you know, a lot. They're going to be very difficult to beat. They're going to be all very competitive because the package is so refined. They got it wrong a little bit with the factory 2025 last year, but it looks like they completely rectified that. Came back to some setup, Aero, engine, and so on that really work for everybody. And it looks like all the Ducati riders are going to have a very strong package underneath them.
Right, we're going to take a quick break for the time being. When we come back, we're going to talk KTM, Honda, Yamaha. We've got World Superbike to get onto, and that huge business of Phillip Island, Adelaide. Which side of the fence do you sit on? Welcome back to Gas It Out. We are talking Buriram testing, the final test of the championship. The Thai Grand Prix opens the championship this coming weekend. Of course, we're all going to be working on the TNT sports coverage in the UK this weekend. We've got wall-to-wall coverage of the racing there. When we see that, lads, are we going to see this man in the mix? He didn't quite do a sprint simulation in the same way, but he did a good full race simulation that he said lap 24, 25. Pedro Acosta, of course, talk about in the KTM, that basically the tyres are working better later in the race, you talked about Achilles heels earlier. That was the Achilles heel, wasn't it, for Pedro, for all of the KTMs last season?
Yeah, I mean, that's all we've heard. That's been the number one complaint. Grip, side grip, on maximum lean, trying to get the bike turned. All the comments are positive. From Pedro, it sounds like the bike has made a step. Obviously, I always say that I'm laughing because he's annoyed because he's also aware that Ducati have made a step. But Pedro's riding really well. Everything they've tried, he says, feels better. And he used the sort of way to describe it is he doesn't feel like he's completely on the limit. Last year at this point, sort of at the end of pre-season testing, he'd hit the deck quite a lot of times. And not sort of known why. One of those sensations where you can't quite feel the limit. He says with this version of the KTM, with all the changes they've made, he's got a lot more feeling, more understanding, and he feels more confident. So that's positive. Is it going to be enough this coming weekend, to battle with the Ducatis? I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah, I think we all sort of feel like
Mr. Positive here.
Yeah, no, but you know, Buriram is not necessarily the answer. We say this every single year. Don't read too much into testing's the first thing that we say. Rubber down, it's very difficult. Thailand in itself, that racetrack is very, very difficult. The tyres have got special heat treatment on there, so it almost isn't relevant for the rest of the year. And these opening races, we're going to go to Brazil. Goodness knows what we're going to find there. The USA, weird old racetrack. And it's not until we start getting to the European part of the season. We say it every year, but it's just to reiterate, to remind you, even when you have Qatar under the lights at night, it's only when we start getting to Jerez and on into the rest of the season that you actually get a feel for the pattern of how the year goes. And it just sounds like KTM are better. And Bastianini aside, he looked like still just finding things tough going. Brad Binder found something at the end of the test. Maverick Viñales said he could have done with an extra day of testing, but you always want more, I suppose. That's the situation. We'll go on quickly onto Honda, though, Sylvain. Still, it sounds like the bike's sorted. Your man, Johan Zarco, was up there at one point. Joan Mir got in the top 10 by the end. Where are we at with Honda, do you feel?
Well, I think we're making steady progress. For sure, Honda last year during the year made some really good progress, and that was significant, I'd say. From last year to this year, I feel like there's a small step that's been made. But if you look at last year in Buriram, already they were not that bad. I think Mir crashed out of P7 when in the race, so he was actually not bad at all. And Zarco was quick as well. So yeah, in Buriram, I was expecting them to be a little bit more competitive. And yeah, you expect them as well there to be using the final spec of engine that they're going to be using this year. So even though they lost the concessions last year, they are still able to homologate their 2026 spec until the first race in Buriram. So it's only after FP1 basically this weekend that this spec will have to be sort of sealed for the whole season. So now I don't think they're going to make any improvements on that side. So I'd say they look okay, but they are they're clearly behind Ducati and Aprilia.
Yeah, that looks like that's the situation. But as you say, the engine has still been something they've been able to work on up to this point. Who knows? Who knows how that will go as the year goes on? And I suppose we have to give word to Yamaha, don't we, to end this part, talking about testing, because we saw the classic. I do love Fabio Quartararo. When you see the footage of him on the bike, frustrated. How many times have we seen that with him over recent years, really demonstrating his frustration, head in his hands in the garage. It feels like so much of it is for show. He does wear his heart on his sleeve. He is an emotional character. They're behind. But when you then listen to Jack Miller, who is turning into Mr. PR man, not just for Yamaha, but for MotoGP as well. We'll get onto the Australian debacle later. Jack's just saying, look, we've got to understand that this bike's new, early infancy. He's being a lot more circumspect and phlegmatic about it all, isn't he? Clearly, the bike is going to take a year to work. And, of course, it's not about this bike, is it? That's the point. We're not building the bike for now. We're building to have the knowledge for 2027. And it's probably hard for someone like Fabio Quartararo, as the world champion, to have that in your mind. Another year of basically knowing that I can't go out there and win. And he says, I can't even get the poles because I'm not going to be able to pull any lap times out of it.
No, and obviously we can all understand his frustration. I mean, he's got 44 races this year to look forward to. I mean, there's going to be some arm waving, isn't there? Especially if he can't qualify it well, which it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. So yeah, he is in that situation where, like, literally now you have to sit down and think, right, you have to reset your goals. What can I achieve this year? I have to make sure I am the number one Yamaha rider. That's all he can do. And from anything else is almost a bonus. So, and you talk about, it's not about this year for Yamaha, and I totally agree. It's not even about next year. If we're going to be totally honest, these things take time. You're probably looking at 2030. And it's like, wow, that's like a big thing to say, but that's the reality. Look at the other manufacturers that have struggled through periods of MotoGP over the past 20 years. It can take between 3 and 6, 7 years for them to really, let's say, fine tune and get a direction. So Yamaha are at the beginning of the journey.
Here we can see, Sylvain, from the MGP1 official Instagram, they did a nice little comparison of last year's testing times to this year. So Aprilia in Sepang were 0.8 quicker than they were a year ago, 0.4 quicker, give or take, in Buriram. Honda, 0.3 quicker in Sepang, 0.1 in Buriram. KTM, less than a 10th quicker in Sepang, a 10th quicker in Buriram, so a slight increment. Ducati, similar kind of vibe. Yamaha, a long way off. And you could probably understand, Sylvain, your compatriots' frustrations in that kind of situation, can't you? But you've got to look at the long game, and as someone who's developed a bike, as you did with Suzuki when it looked like it was a tall order, you've just got to, how do you rally everyone around? Especially when it looks like he's going to be jumping ship. How do you get everyone around and go, come on, as Jack's trying to do? You've got to give him credit for that in that respect. I think Alex Rins as well, there were some positive noises. Your old teammate, effectively, Sylvain. How do you keep that morale high?
That's a really tough one, and like Neil said, it's going to take years and years. I give you the last example. Suzuki, they were running a V4 before. They came to with an E94 in 2015, having done a little bit of testing before, a couple of years testing. And it took them to 2022 to win the title. So in 2020. I was there. How did I get that wrong?
Well, you've told us about it enough times.
Yeah, it takes a long time to change an engine configuration like this and get it right. And you can't buy that time. I mean, you can do some measures, but there is so much work to be done, so much miles to be done, so much things to dial in. It's a very complicated job. So they took on a massive task by changing to a V4. They are convinced this is the way to go, especially because of the Aero side, that they get a narrower engine, a narrower bike that allows them to run the ducts and the Aero fairings and the ground effect stuff. And they're going that way. They're fully committed to it, but it's going to take a lot of time. So it's going to be very frustrating for the riders. So you're going to get top riders like Fabio Quartararo that are going to get annoyed, they're going to get vocal about it, and you're going to get other riders that want to keep their rides, and they're going to play the corporate game, and this is what's happening. You're going to give your best and try and stay positive about the project, but it's not going to be easy for anybody. Not for the riders, not for the engineers, not for the management. It's a big task for everybody. I hope they get it right, and I hope that this will be soon. But the reality is that, like Neil said, it's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm. When Sylvain mentioned corporate game there, Neil, I had a wry smile. I'm sure you were thinking the same. We know we're talking about Jack because he's got copping a lot of stick. Like, we know Jack gives, and there's no doubt about it, when he's on the racetrack, you get every little ounce of effort and energy out of Jack. Sometimes too much, because he's always wanting to put it all out there, and the tires will burn out, whatever. But he's playing the right game, isn't he? I mean, people can criticize him all they like, but he's wanting to keep his job. And I'm sure you, Neil, as a a rider manager, but also someone who's been in a position where it's not been easy, or you've been in positions where you found going tough at times, to keep that positivity will serve you in good stead, won't it, with a factory?
Absolutely. It's like I said, there's 44 races this year. You can't start the season, let's say, with your battery level already flashing red. You've got to start trying to be positive, and a lot of it is you're trying to convince yourself. But you're so right, Jack. Jack's matured, hasn't he? Because obviously we've known him since he basically came into the Grand Prix paddock. The cheeky little rascal that he's always been. So funny, so witty, a brilliant bloke to be around. Like, literally, like one of the best riders I've met. Really, like, he's never changed. I say he's matured, but he's always got that lovely cheeky edge to him. But I tell you what, he's come across well in his interviews just recently. Like, say, playing the game right. He wants to stay in that Grand Prix paddock, and he's the sort of team player you need, that Yamaha needs, that he will continue to give 100% every time he goes out. He'll give everything this weekend. So, yeah, I've been really impressed with Jack.
So, is there anything else that either of you would like to bring up about testing in Buriram? We'll make predictions perhaps for the opening weekend towards the end of the podcast. Is there anything that's caught your eye, Sylvain? Anything else that you'd like to bring to the party?
Well, unfortunately, Toprak still, Toprak Razgatlioglu, sorry, still struggling very much with the Yamaha. So we know the Yamaha is the worst package on the grid at the moment, but it still looks like Toprak has not found any kind of feeling with the bike, or any kind of feel with the tires as well. It looks like, I was expecting personally him to have a difficult transition because of his riding style, and because of that riding style that works supremely well in World Superbikes. I thought it was not going to work that well in MotoGP, but it's actually worse than I thought, and I feel really bad for him, because I know how talented he is, and I can see him struggle, and you know what it's like, Neil, when you're like this, and you're trying to ride the bike as best as you can, and nothing works, and it looks sort of desperate. So yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be a long season for Toprak, and hopefully when the rule change, when the tires will be different as well, it will suit his natural riding style better. But you can tell that already it's going to be a very long 44 races for him.
Neil, did you have anything else to add to that? That feels like a good time to move to World Superbike, but you look like you had something to add.
Oh yeah, nothing much to add apart from it's hard to read too much into anything apart from the Yamaha situation. Everyone's going to say, I tell you what, the bike's great, thanks to the engineers. We're at that point in the season where there's quite a lot of BS floating around, and rightly so. That's how it's always been. what happens is, let's get a few rounds under our belt, and then the truth starts to seep out, doesn't it? You start to hear really what's going on. So at this point, I'd say take a lot of it with a bit of a pinch of salt.
So let's move on then now to World Superbike. You're both champions, of course, and been keeping a keen eye. We've been exchanging a few messages over the weekend in between us, haven't we, about what's been going on. But this is what we saw Nicolo Bulega celebrating after a triple race win. He became the most successful Italian ever, which was remarkable as far as I was concerned, beating Marco Melandri. Think of all the great Italian riders that have been in the championship over the years. But he's triple, even as well, I'll add, in tricky conditions on Sunday in particular. Really hard to judge in the Super Bowl race, in the main race as well. Conditions just feeling that so treacherous that you get down there. And this is how the championship sits at the end of the first round of the championship. In the video version, you can see the standings. Nicolo is on top with 62 from Axel Bassani in second. Jari Montella, surprise package after he took his first podium in that opener. Lorenzo Baldassarri similarly as well. But all Italian affair. What's going on in World Superbike, lads?
Where are the Brits?
Yeah, well, a couple of them in hospital, unfortunately. Less was said about Jake Dixon and Sam Lowes. Obviously, Sam crashed out in the race on Sunday. Jake obviously did it in testing, but yeah, an Italian domination. Neil, we all picked Bulega as our hope, and he'll have gone into the season expecting to have done like this. Toprak, as we talked about before, he predicted it, and it's lived out as we expected. There have been some, concerns that maybe the new Ducati, who knows what it was going to be like, but it's working.
It's working, and Bulega around Phillip Island, it just makes it look so easy. Every time I saw him on TV, it just looks like he's got one arm behind his back. It just like the bike's not moving. He looks fully in control. He carries a lot of corner speed. He's really smooth with the throttle. I mean, if a track was designed for a rider, I feel like Nicolo Bulega, that track, Phillip Island, was built for him. And I think then you've got some surprises, like Montella is a surprise, but Bassani, I mean, obviously Alex Lowes' teammate, is in his third year now working with that team. He swapped crew chiefs this year, so maybe sometimes that helps if a rider's struggling with a crew chief. But in pre-season testing didn't show much and had an outstanding weekend. So I was really pleased for the young Italian. So yeah, it looks positive. The only downside, and it's a little bit of the MotoGP story, is you look at the results, and apart from Bassani, it's a Ducati Cup, really. And the Ducatis seem to work well together. They share the information, and because there's more of them on the grid, then it's just easier for them to make the steps forward. So that's the only negative, I'd say.
Yeah, what was your takeaway from the weekend with obviously a mix of different riders getting on the podium? Obviously, Alex Lowes managed to sneak onto it into the Super Bowl alongside his teammate. A good double podium for Bimota in that Super Bowl race as well, Sylvain. But it is Bulega's to lose, isn't it? I know not till the end of March till we get the next round of the championship, but already at this stage, you're looking at it thinking it could be a long year for everybody.
It will be a long year for everybody. I mean, it's clear. I mean, from last year and from how the year started now, looks like Ducati is super strong. It looks like they got everything dialed in with the that swing arm. Obviously, he's different this year, and yeah, he absolutely destroyed everybody in Phillip Island, a little bit like we expected, and I think that's going to carry on. But that said, there was a lot of great battles. It just wasn't in the front, but there was loads of really, really good battles behind that, I thought Alex did really well as well. Alex Lowes, unfortunately, it looks like in that fully wet race, the second race, the setup wasn't quite right, and he just overdone it a little bit. But yeah, I thought the B-Motors were the surprise. And with the BMWs as well, they sort of like progressed during the weekend. I did think that it was not going to be an easy weekend, because even for Toprak, this track was probably the worst, the most difficult. So I expect them to make inroads. I thought Oliveira did really well for his first weekend in World Superbikes, except obviously the crash in Superpole, but he then recovered quite well in all the races. So it's going to be an interesting year. We've got some good-looking bikes as well. The Ducati with the white looks really good, and the BMW with the white as well looks really good. I really like the liveries this year, which is nice to look at.
Always important, isn't it? The bike looks good. We talk about it all the time. A bike looks good. It's a fast bike as well. A quick word on World Supersport. Jaume Masia winning in first one of those. Albert Arenas coming across. I like that. He's leading the championship after his first weekend as well. But it's good to see, from our point of view, from Grand Prix side, people who have found, their paths limited in Grand Prix racing. It feels like they now have a home. It feels like they actually have somewhere where they might be able to see some progress, then get onto World Superbike, and then there might be a way back round if Toprak can show. Because we know Nicolo Bulega's got this testing role this year with Ducati. He's helping them develop their 27 package around the Pirellis. There's talk of the possibility of them looking for him for a permanent ride in Grand Prix next year. I just like seeing names that people from the Grand Prix paddock familiar with acquitting themselves really well and really quickly as well, as far as Arenas is concerned.
Yeah, it does show the different level, though, doesn't it? Like we are pretty aware, Moto 2 is so difficult. And you get someone like Arenas who's done quite a lot of seasons. Obviously, it's easy to forget that he won the Moto 3 World Championship in, when was that? 20, was it? I can't remember the year, but not that long ago. I mean, he was incredible. And then not quite found it where he's consistently at the front in Moto 2. But yeah, you go to World Supersport and it's like the depth of field is not quite there. And the level of racing at the front, the speed's not quite as fast as Moto 2. That's just a fact, isn't it? So that's why we've seen a lot of the Moto 2 riders go to World Supersport and clean up straight away.
Yeah, so World Superbike will be back at the end of March. That's right, isn't it? Next round?
Yeah,
of the championship in Portimao.
It's a funny season again, isn't it? Like, as in
so you spoke to the Lowe's twins, didn't you, Neil?
Pardon?
Sorry, you spoke to Alex, didn't you? But you mentioned about Sam, about the injury. He's got broken wrist. Have you been able to speak to Jake Dixon at all about where they might be in terms of their recoveries?
Not spoke to Jake, spoke to Sam. Sorry, I spoke to Alex about Sam, and he says he doesn't think it's too bad. It sounds like he's broke some bones in the back of his hand. It doesn't sound like wrist related. Like where I've not spoke to Jake, but I'm sure everyone saw the social media post operation where he was saying how basically how he was feeling. He looked terrible, didn't he? And it just. I felt so sorry for him because a wrist injury at this point, a proper wrist injury, let's say, could be you could lose half a season. It's one of them. So I just hope it's not complicated.
Let's move on. While they were racing in World Superbike in Australia, actually just before the weekend started, we got an announcement, a statement, first of all from the Melbourne, the Victoria side of things, the Australian Grand Prix Corporation, having delivered racing at Phillip Island over many years. And unfortunately, this is going to be the last time this year, for now anyway, that we're going to be racing at Phillip Island. Once that was done, the next day there was the announcement of Adelaide, a deal being done with the South Australia government, that they will race, in theory, on a street circuit. A street circuit in the past that has hosted a Formula One race.
Hang on. I thought this was a joke, wasn't it?
Obviously, I think the bend might be a backup there. It feels to me there are lots of things to get our teeth into on this one, because it's not a simple matter of get rid of Phillip Island and all that. Oh my God. It has caused, let's start with the raw facts. It has caused a furore. And it's because, for my money, I mean, I have on my wall at home a map of Phillip Island. I've got it up there because it is my favorite layout that we go to, my favorite bit of tarmac that is out there for watching motorcycle racing on. That, the first things first, there's no doubt about it. MotoGP will miss racing at the best track in the world. Do you agree?
100%. My question is, just to get straight into it, is I'm sure, was it a year ago, 18 months ago, when we heard from Liberty for the first time, and one of the first questions was asked, will we be racing on street circuits? And it was, of course we won't be racing on street circuits. Rider safety's paramount and all that lot. And here we are, like pretty much straight away, we've traded the best circuit in the world. And I am not exaggerating. Phillip Island has provided the best racing over the past 20 years. Compare it to every other circuit, Phillip Island has delivered. You can't argue with that. The riders love it. It provides fantastic racing. It is 10 out of 10. So we're going to trade that. We're going to move that to the side to race around a street circuit in Adelaide that I've not done my homework. I've not looked at it, but seemingly you can go online and look what the track looks like, what the Formula One track looked like. It appears that they will have to remove lots of trees, potentially buildings, which of course is not going to happen. Surely they're not going to be knocking buildings down. So it sounds strange. I've heard all sorts of rumours that there is a track in Adelaide called, is it the Bends?
The Bend,
which is the Bend. I call it the Bends. So the Bends.
I tell you what, I feel like I get the Bends sometimes listening to you, Neil.
Yeah. So the Bends is about an hour out of Adelaide, so I'm told, and I'm also told it's owned by a very wealthy person. Are we going to end up at this track? The Bends, I've heard the Bends is rubbish of everybody I've spoken to. I've never ridden there. Everybody I've spoken to said it's awful. So surely we're not going to ride on a road circuit through Adelaide, going across manhole covers and no runoff, or not enough runoff. That's not going to happen, is it?
Well, I think, I don't know, I would sort of hesitate on that one, because my understanding is that the F1 street circuit is one thing. This is going to be a different matter. Basic layout might be similar. They've got an area that would serve as pit complex, but you're right. It's run around a huge park, basically, in Adelaide. And a lot of this comes, first of all, as a political thing. Victorian government against the South Australia government. They are, on a national level, it's a sort of devolved governmental department, states that you get in Australia, and they basically compete for sporting events, and they have done for years. This is a huge thing that's been going on between these two, whether it be for Formula One and it's switching from Adelaide to Albert Park in Melbourne, as it has done. And it is like a bit of a one-upmanship that they've got between the two states that are side by side in the south of Australia. So that's the first point on it. That the track, in theory, will still go around the same park. I think I'm right in saying it's Victoria Park, which I find hilarious that you've got Albert Park in Melbourne, you've got Victoria Park in Adelaide, but that there is a possibility that for there to be more runoff, and obviously there would be for MotoGP.
There would be. They are not good.
And they're not going to race around the track. I will state this now. They're not going to race around the Formula One street circuit. You're right. A lot of people saying you can't do that. You're right. You can't, and they're not going to.
Yeah.
But whether the modifications can be done, that's the question. It's about money. It's gone for political. Wanted more spending on Phillip Islands, no doubt about that. It needed, the pit builders needed work on it, and facilities down there needed more work. That was proposed. Obviously, there's a private owner in Lindsay Fox at the track. He wasn't willing to do it for basically what you get out of it. Also, have environmental concerns. It is a nature reserve, a lot of all places around the island, and there's limits on what you can build. There's noise limits that they have to contend with there on the island. So there's lots of things that couldn't be done to Phillip Island. So I think Dorna, or should I say MotoGP Sports Entertainment Group, as they're now renamed, went and said, okay, well, can you do Albert Park? Can we make Albert Park safe? And we were talking about that, if you remember, on the race weekend of the Australian Grand Prix, back when we were there in October. And there was a thought that, well, that's also around Albert Park. There are areas actually where you could have more runoff in theory. They've decided not to do it. Obviously, Adelaide or the South Australians are paying more. Perhaps there's been interest, as Neil says, for the Bend to be the backup.
Bends.
Of course. And I just feel like.
Am I right, Gav? Sorry to interrupt. Am I right in saying though, when me and Sylvain we were texting each other, Sylvain's quite a fan of this change. He said he thinks it's a real positive move.
You are trying to get him into some trouble, aren't you? Look, that's the political side of it. Who knows whether it'll be safe? And Jack Miller was there, and I have to stand up for Jack in this because he's got a lot of stick. Ultimately, he's saying is we will not race there if it's not safe enough. Sylvain, you've been involved in discussions with all the riders about safety, about runoff, about all these things, about the possibility of there being a riders' union. You've been right in the mix, in the thick of those discussions. One thing's true, we can never get all the riders to agree, but one thing they all tend to agree on in some respect is the track that we race on has to be safe. Am I right?
Yeah, and I'd say that, with Dorna and the FIM, they actually do a really good job at making things safe and at improving the safety wherever we've been going. They've always been, reactive, and they're always trying to do that in the best manner because they know that is the number one concern. So yeah, I think that this new track in Adelaide will be safe. They will make it safe because that will be sort of condition number one. But for sure, then what I'm really worried about is that we're going to end up with a track that is going to be very slow, very well, a little bit boring compared to what you get. I mean, the racing that you get at Phillip Island, when you know your bike racing, when you've been there and you've raced there, there is no better place really. Let's be honest. It's a top three, 100% a top three. For everybody, it's a great track. It's beautiful. The whole experience of going there, going to that place is beautiful. So yeah, for the motorbike people, and the motorbike riders, this is a great loss. Now, is it needed to move to this new venture with Liberty, with changing the business around the sport as it is changing, and as it has to change. That's a completely different discussion. But yeah, I think it's a big loss, not having Phillip Island anymore on the calendar. I feel a bit sad about it. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I think we all feel the same about that. That's yeah, we are losing one of the great places. I did have lots of comments from fans actually who got in touch with us at Bottle MT. So can we talk Australia next time? I meant to show these before. At Non-Car, what's the backstory? Not enough spectators. That's part of it. You only have 30 to 40,000, even though it's a hugely popular, great event. It's not always. It's one of the smallest crowds that we go to of the whole year.
Yeah, but
that's got.
Yeah, but also to add to that, because obviously Gav, you've been going there for the Grand Prix for how many years?
25 years. Yeah.
And running it at the time of the year that they run it, it just makes no sense. Every year we go there, it is ridiculous. When I say it's freezing, it sometimes feels like it's minus. It's wet, it's miserable. You don't want to camp there. We drive into the track, we see where people are camping, and you're just like, what a shame. We've got this incredible venue and we're running it just as they're coming into winter.
Saying that, it rained on Sunday, didn't it? In the summer event, but I know it's all part of it. But anyway, it will be a sad miss. Let us know what you think at Gas It Out Pod on Instagram. We've got gossip to get through as well before we wind up this pod. At Ramblings of a Fat Broken Man. Two Spaniards on the Ducati factory team. Would they go with that in Italian? What about Fabio and Marc on HRC? Absolute dream team plus Marc finishes at home. The latest in terms of transfer gossip. It's sounding like most of the factory seats are going to be set. We're going to probably find them out before the start of the season. Sylvain, and actually, the big one is that Pecco Bagnaia, a 4-year deal at Aprilia is what Sky Sports Italy are reporting. And that then makes the Acosta thing happen. I mean, talk about dropping your double world champion as soon as he's not been performing. What do you reckon to that?
Well, that's a tough call. But I think it's a little bit sad that we're doing the all the contract right now. I wish there was some kind of signing window for the contracts, you know, in the summertime, to give a bit more time to the riders, especially the rookies, the young lads that are coming in, you know, to get a little bit more time for them to perform and to show their true potential in their second year, especially. And teams are having to make really cutthroat choices really, really early on in the seasons, without having seen what they can do during the start of the year. So yeah, I somehow that doesn't sit right with me. And now we're going to see basically, you know, all this discussion that's been going on at the end of last year and at the start of the winter now. We're going to see that all fall in place. There might be some coming before we can even release this podcast, actually. And even if we do that quick, it's all going to be coming now. I think before Buriram, we're going to see the big names being announced by the factories. So yeah, I wish that was a little bit more down the line. I think it will build a lot of excitement as well, and a lot of stuff to talk about for us as well in that first half of season. You know, if we didn't have those signings, but unfortunately, that's going to fall in place very quickly. Very exciting to see Pecco Bagnaia though on the Aprilia, obviously with how the Aprilia team is performing at the moment. I think he'll be an Italian dream team at Aprilia with Bezzecchi.
Yeah, so it's effectively looking like Bezzecchi and Bagnaia at Aprilia. It's looking like Marquez and Pedro Acosta will be at Ducati, as we'd already talked about in our preview episodes for the start of the year. Looking like Yamaha, we'll see Jorge Martin lining up. KTM as well, Maverick Vinales making a team there with Alex Marquez, and Alex positive about his chances. So, I mean, the grid, forming for 27 already in MotoGP. Who's going to be at Honda, I suppose, is the other question mark. Who will be alongside Yamaha? I suppose you'd look at Toprak, perhaps, if he has a decent enough first season. But yeah, it just feels strange, doesn't it, this part of the season, before we start, that we're already we're already talking about deals being done. Managers just pocketing the millions already.
It looks like, you know what managers are like, greedy managers. You know what they're like, Gav. No, it's strange. It is. We've never been in this position before where it looks like 90% of the factory seats are all done and dusted. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's just that ripple effect. Sometimes there's a delay. You have to wait for the main man to decide where he's going, and then it all happens. But the main man is Marc Marquez. It looks like he is going to sign a 2-year deal, and then the next thing that happened really quickly, I think they'd already agreed with Pedro anyway to get him in the factory team, and then it was panic stations. All the managers will have been putting the feelers out, that have already had conversations, and there'll have been lots of, you know, keeping your irons in different fires, but all of a sudden you had to react, and that's what's happened. So yeah, it's a weird one, and I do feel sorry for, let's say, some of the rookies, some of the Moto2 riders that are looking to move up to MotoGP. There's not going to be many opportunities, is there? If you think about it, by the time we get the first few rounds out the way, it'll be really interesting to see. Well, what's going to be interesting is the next phase of signings. Will that happen? Will there be a big delay? Will that be summertime, or will that happen relatively soon?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Right, lads, just as we get going for the first race of the season, reminder that's coming up, Thai Grand Prix, the weekend, 27th, 28th, that's Friday and Saturday of practice, of course, the first sprint race of the season. And then on the Sunday, March 1st, the race at Buriram. I want your predictions. Who's going to win the opener, do you feel? I'll start with you, Sylvain Gintoli.
Well, I'm gonna go for Marc Marquez for the win, and I will go. We're talking about the main race, yeah, not the sprint. We're talking about the Sunday race, the big one. Both. Oh, doing both. Ooh, that's interesting. So for the sprint, I'm gonna go for Bezzecchi, and then it will be Marc Marquez, and in third, Pecco Bagnaia. And then for the main race, I think Marc Marquez will win the race, and then we'll have. Then after that, that's a tight one. It'll probably be Bezzecchi in second and Pecco Bagnaia in third again.
I'll go for the sprint race. I'm going to go Marc to win. Mark to finish second, and Mark will finish third.
Covering the bases.
And then
that's
and
like
then,
putting £10 on red and £10 on black, isn't it?
And what's wrong with that?
And £10 on green on the zero.
Exactly. Winning. I'm yet to lose at a casino. Oh no, actually no. Yeah, so I'll go sprint race. Mark to win. Alex Marquez second. Pecco third. That's sprint race, and same result for the main race. How about you, Gav?
Well, no Aprilia on the podium, Neil.
No. No, because Ducati haven't pressed that button yet, have they? You know, they're holding stuff back. Hey, I'll tell you what was quite interesting. Do you see the top speeds? Ducati, which normally isn't the fastest, now they've even found speed, which is like at a track like Buriram, which is a bit of a drag strip, but certainly the first third of it is. Yeah, I feel like they're going to be in a very strong position, obviously. And that's not because I'm an ex-Ducati rider.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with Mark for both sprint and main race, because I think in all these, you have to be daft, really, to bet against him in those respects. I'll go with, in the main race, actually, do you know what? I'm going to go Mark, Pecco, Alex, and I'll go with the same on the Sunday. That's what I'm going to go with. There we are. That's my predictions for the opening round of the championship. Just a final thing that I've noticed online this week. I just thought I wanted to bring it because it was something that really got me excited. Was this was Tony Elias, his little son. Just look at those leathers. Having his first ride, his first on tarmac ride on a little racing bike. And he was out there with his granddad. That's Tony Elias Sr., who was a Spanish motocross champ. He's absolute legend, is Tony Sr. I just loved it. And Tony's saying he's having a heart attack, of course, former MotoGP race winner, Moto2 world champion. How cute is that, though? And look, it's just the leathers. How cool do those leathers look?
Well, they're obviously they're obviously Tony's, aren't they, from last year?
When he was riding in Moto America.
You've seen how tall he is. What's Tony Elias? He must be 4'9". But how cool, because the old Spanish, I think Garibaldi leathers, you could see it on his shoulders. Very cool. Love that. Love a bit of retro.
Really cool. We saw that. And again, if you've got anything that you have seen, we want to hear from you. You can
I
always
add something?
Go on.
What do we think about the Lorenzo Maverick Vinales? He's trained all winter. We've seen him lap after. It's literally Maverick Vinales has been in his leathers all winter. Has it made any difference? I'm going to throw it out there. Has it?
I'm not getting involved at this stage.
We're going to wait for the race.
Okay,
We're going to wait for the race to see that.
Just wait and see. Just don't get in there.
I've
been chatting to Jorge this week.
I know.
Actually, I've been.
We're going to get him on here anyway. We'll ask him, won't we?
We'll get him on. We're going to get him on the pod sooner rather than later. We have got so much to get into with Jorge, but I've noticed he's been in the gym. I have noticed that he's, he's been working out. He says he wants to get back to his fighting weight. So, obviously, I tell you what, though, he looks motivated to do it. He's been to all the tests. He's there, isn't he? He's getting involved. Yeah. He's obviously bored. Or he's got, I don't know, he's got to fill some...
I'm going to say, I actually do respect the fact that he has been in all the boring test tracks when it's raining, and in Spain when he's been out there with Maverick. He's putting in the mileage anyway, so...
Yeah. Anyway, if you do see anything that you'd like us to talk about, if there's any questions you've got, opinions, disagreements, I'll tell you what, this chap had a bit of a disagreement with us as we showed that image of... the old gas it out logo. Hodgson, don't make out you're some accomplished lager drinking lout. It's not clever or a good look. Grow up. There we are. Peter Stowe. It was sort of the point. That was kind of the gag. But anyway, I'm sorry, Peter. I'm sorry that it wasn't for you.
Yeah, and learn how to spell someone's name if you're going to be so disrespectful. Oh, sorry. I'm not sensitive. Sylvain, did you write that?
Yeah. It was me. Yeah, with my bots. Yeah, I've got plenty more coming.
He's got his Russian bots out there as Sylvain. He's got them working hard. So have a go. But if you want to have a go at us, if you want to make any...
It's not clever. Drinking your beer, thinking you're hard. Come on, grow up.
Yeah, you're not clever. You're not clever, let's face it.
I think we're sort of like taking the piss a bit. I think we are. I don't know.
That is sort of the point, that Neil
Yeah.
is a cheap firework when he's had one beer. Anyway, at Gas It Out Pod on Instagram. Any other insults, any other bike-related mishaps, any of your travel horror stories, we'll take any of it as well. The links to the various podcast streams on Apple, Spotify are there. There's a link to Sylvain's fundraiser too. Remember, he's running the London Marathon for Pazik Children's Charity. So get on there. That link is on our bio on Instagram. It's also available on YouTube. If you are just listening to us, full video version of this podcast, complete with our slightly panicked, wrinkly, high-definition faces as they try to all look like they know what they're talking about, whilst blaming absolutely everything on the other person sat alongside them. You can see that on YouTube, and we'll take your comments on there as well. There's been loads of people have got in touch with us, actually, and I'm glad that so many of you have got in touch, have liked it, have subscribed as well. We've got a load more subscribers as well. Tell your mates as well to keep watching. If you are listening rather than watching, head over there, because apparently YouTube's where it's at. You know, look at us, these wrinkly old faces now with their...
I look terrible.
We all just look an absolute mess. You can have a scroll through the back catalogue as well on YouTube as well. And if you are in the UK, you'll hear us live on TNT Sports over the racing weekend. And then we'll be back, won't we, lads? We'll have our takedown of all the action from Thailand.
We'll be back.
Because once the flag drops in Thailand,
The
all
bullshit
of the
stops.
nonsense stops, doesn't it?
Yeah, can't wait.
Thank you, Sylvain, for logging in. We haven't worked out still. Where are you, Sylvain?
Do you want me to show you? I don't know if I can.
Well, I can see. Right, I'll tell you one thing, Sylvain. Right, I'm in a hotel room that is just lucky enough to have a bed. You're in a hotel room that's got a sofa. That's what I can see. And anyone who knows, if you've got a hotel room with a sofa,
that's a background. You know, one of those automatic ones. It's. I'm actually in a really small room.
In the toilet.
Just
sure.
Yeah, in a toilet somewhere. That's it.
Mine's a single bed in my room.
Yorkshireman.
I'm gonna do that. I think there's loads of cables, but look. Oh, let me just turn it.
Oh my God, Gav.
Of course. Where's that?
Oh, Jesus.
Maldives, Seychelles.
How nice is that? That's quite nice, isn't it?
God.
There you go.
Brilliant.
Right.
Oh, well. Thank you so much for your company, Sylvain. Thank you, Neil. As we say, we'll be back after the opening Grand Prix of the championship in Thailand. From myself, Neil, and Sylvain, if in doubt, gas it out.
Oh, I like that.